Space, the final frontier.
Blue skies smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see. Never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things going so right.
Let's see what's out there. Engage.
Hello and good evening. Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 9. The battle is over, and it has been since November 16th, 1987. But for this Tuesday, July 16th, 2024, we are just getting started with our review some almost 40 years later. Or, I don't know, it's 30-something at least. I'm Dave Maynard. We're here on a live stream here on Live Long and Podcast, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. You might be listening to us the audio version or some other version in the future. And we're going to break this episode down for you tonight. We're going to talk all about it with an amazing panel. First, we got the Daemon himself. We got Jody Simpson.
If it's not for profit, I'm not showing up.
Yes, that's exactly right. Then
I'm getting paid to be here, by the way.
I'm trying to remember what those devices were because it would fit in with Murphy's moniker. The World Mind himself, Chris Murphy. I think it was like
yes. There's an amplifier around here, and it's giving me a mind cream.
The Mind Orb, the band Mind Orb.
They were called Thought Makers.
Thought Makers.
Because that's some A+ naming right there.
That is that's science fiction for you at its best, and that's a great segue. Bringing it in here for the first time this season, I think, on the review shows. It's Heather Narduzzi.
Yeah, hello everyone.
Yes.
I've been making lots of thoughts about this episode.
Excellent. I'm excited to talk with you all about it. Obviously, this is the 9th episode of the series. It's the 9th episode of the first season. And just for a little bit of, I guess, a synopsis here. In this episode, Captain Picard is given his former vessel, the Stargazer, as a gift by the Ferengi Daemon Bach, who intends to use it to take revenge upon the Enterprise captain. And so we're gonna talk all about that. The second appearance of the Ferengi, and the first appearance of two of Daemon Bach. And we get to see the Stargazer. Spoilers ahoy! If you haven't watched this episode, we're assuming you have, or if you haven't, stick around anyway. We're going to tell you all about it, one way or the other here. Yes, of course, there's a live stream. We have people here in the comments. Norman saying, "Are there no headaches in the future?" As we see, Captain Picard has a lot of headaches coming from the Thought Makers, from Daemon Bach. Headaches no longer happen. Yes.
Apparently, they don't have like Midol and stuff in the future.
Yeah. Sam asking, do you think this was a better intro to the Ferengi than the last Outpost?
Yes.
Me?
Yes.
It's hard to not be better than the last Outpost because that was dismal.
Yeah, it was a little boring. Although I didn't hate it. I gave it a 5, which means I was kind of like, yeah, could take it or leave it. This was better. I think for me, I thought Patrick Stewart, stands out in this episode. He's got a pretty good performance, I think. I'm left with questions, in terms of in-universe things. I guess my biggest thing is, and it's really as simple as this. What was Picard doing for 9 years between the Stargazer being lost and him taking command of the Enterprise?
That's a good question.
Probably fooling around looking for history, rocks, or whatever his hobby is. Playing the flute,
He doesn't do that yet.
Maybe he was on that drug that what's her name was on.
From I was gonna say he's probably rebuilding his resume for losing a ship.
Well, yeah, we know that there was a court martial that came after the Stargazer was lost. We'll see that comes up in A Measure of a Man because there's like that JAG officer who he knows from that, Philippa something.
Louvois.
Yes, no, different Philippa, so yeah, like I guess like that would have taken a little while. And the only other hint we have of what he does in those 9 years is he mentions. When he tells a story about Tasha Yar later on, I think to maybe Tasha's sister when she comes into the show. He says, I saw her on this mission and then I knew her. I wanted her on my next command. So he was doing missions or something, but it doesn't seem like he had a ship in between.
Section 31, perhaps.
That's a theory. Maybe it was just a Starfleet command. Like the other theory is that, he seems to know every single admiral in Starfleet by first name. So like every one of them is his old friend. So maybe he was at headquarters and just, chilling out there for a better part of a decade.
Hanging out with Boothby.
Who doesn't even remember him. But could be. Yeah. So a great mystery. A weird thing to sort of leave out of his backstory, I thought. Or to specifically make this battle 9 years ago. They could have made it 3 years ago or whatever, but they chose to make it much further back in the timeline. So anyway, with all that,
probably to like give him some sort of inexperience as to why he would, lose the ship. If he's 9 years younger, it's more plausible than him being 3 years younger and losing his ship.
Well, and then they give him the flagship after that. It's cool about the Stargazer. Here's the Enterprise.
Yeah, it was going to be decommissioned anyway. It's fine.
Yeah, well, this Stargazer you can see is a pretty old-looking ship in this episode. It's clearly the bridge from Star Trek V.
And he's sitting on a stool. There's no captain's chair. He's just straight up sitting on a stool in the middle.
It's got like those little like those things that come over the thighs, I guess, to hold you down, like a seatbelt.
I thought those were actually like the armrests, but
they're both. They're like both. Like it's like armrests that become like this like lap belt for certain
like
situations.
Like the rides at Universal Canada, gotta
strap in. You're on the Stargazer now, baby.
Yeah, like we saw those in Star Trek 3 when they had the Excelsior. Remember that captain is chasing Captain Kirk as he's stealing the Enterprise from the space dock, and we see he's like, wait, do you see what this Excelsior class ship could do with its transwarp? And he puts like the things down over his lap there, but Scotty sabotaged the ship, and that was the only other time I could remember seeing that. But anyway, all that is sort of a lot of observations. Do we like this episode? I guess is my big question at this time. Jody, you're first.
I don't mind it. Like, it's got a lot of like, scenes in it, and especially if you're familiar with all the lore, like it doesn't line up to a lot of the lore that we know of, but overall, I think it's a workable first season episode. Like it's certainly, no all good things or anything like that, but it's all right. It's like, it's all right.
How do you feel about Damon Bach as a villain?
Weak.
Not Khan level.
He wasn't menacing at all. Like, you want kind of a menacing
prophet.
Yeah, well, and that's true. And I guess
not very good Ferengi.
We're getting more about the Ferengi in this episode than we did in the last one. So it's, I guess, in a way, it's good. It's building. For a first season episode, it's not bad. I think there's way worse episodes in the first season than this one.
Sure. Heather, how about you next? Do you like this episode?
I mean, it's fine. It's not one that really stands out to me. The thing that I liked best about Damon Bach is that they obviously listen to Flo Rida on Ferenginar because he's got the boots with the fur and the little stash. It's so cute. And they really spent all the budget on makeup and teeth because then they just got like dollar store sequins for the headdress.
They're like, we'll just put this in the back.
That's fine. They're not looking at the back of his head. It's fine.
Just glue it. It's fine.
But yeah, but
an empty white room.
It's like it's almost like one of those like things you put in like the middle of like a table service.
Yeah,
to put like your candles on and stuff.
like a little placemat,
Yeah,
a little sequined
they just
placemat.
wrapped it around their head and said,
Yeah.
"Okay, we're good."
Yeah. I thought that the actor who played him was, I mean, the writing was a bit tough to deal with too, but I just found him very like cringy, which they kind of established in the last Outpost is how the Ferengi act, but yeah, not menacing at all. And I would like to add, I saw Sam's comment come up, we need a Stargazer prequel. If you're in, oh, there it is. If you're into the novels at all, there's one called Reunion where Picard's Stargazer colleagues come aboard the Enterprise, and it's a really good one. So
As long as you're
into
okay that it's not
stuff.
canon.
It's not canon, but you know, I heard Dave Mader argued that head canon is more important than actual.
I did, and I won that debate, so it must be true. So no. Yeah, that was a tough one for me. Okay, Murphy, just want to get your thoughts. Are you up or down on this going in through the as we go through the synopsis?
Well, I'm gonna upvote this. This is a reference to Orville yesterday. Yeah, no, I dig this episode because again, it is a better introduction to the Ferengi. It's a little more lenient on their like current, like lore, and I also like the fact that this is like one of the early episodes that sort of gives Beverly a bit more autonomy in her character. She's very much more like, no, we're doing this because I gave you an order, like to be at this, and she's in it a bit more. So yeah.
They also said hell twice.
Yeah.
That's pretty big for that time period.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just the whole like it does shape Picard's character a bit more. At least in this early season, you sort of get why he's a bit more retracted as a captain, because of his past failures and stuff like that, and he's probably living with that sort of grief. So yeah.
Here's the other thing I couldn't shake. I hadn't really watched this in a while, but we know that Damon Bach is going to come back later, right? And he's going to try to present Picard with this guy Jason Vigo, who is his supposed son. Now, spoilers for that episode, but it turns out Jason Vigo is not Picard's son. It's another Damon Bach misdirect, another con artist move.
He really sucks.
Right.
He's not good at his job.
But we know
have no profit.
In this episode, he makes reference to Vigo several times, a man named Vigo, who's the tactical officer of the Stargazer. And I was like, this seems like not a coincidence. This seems like, did he meet I think her name was Miranda Vigo, who was Jason Vigo's mother, and he admitted that he knew her and slept with her and all this other stuff. He just didn't turn out to be the biological father of Jason Vigo. So I was like, could it have been like a sister maybe of the tactical officer that he had met? And that was his old flame. I don't know.
Possibly. Maybe.
Could be. I don't know. Just another thing here with the Picard stuff. And just on Stargazer prequels, there's that doctor that we met in Picard season 1, I think. Remember when he wants to go, like that medical officer who's like from the West Wing or whatever, he shows up to help because Beverly, Gates McFadden wasn't doing the show back in season 1. So they brought this other doctor in. Do you guys remember that?
Polanski?
Honestly, I don't.
Okay, I'll bring up a picture.
And I watched the whole series, so
I'll just bring up this guy.
Oh, okay, I remember him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the subway ghost in Ghost.
Is he?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, he's not the subway ghost.
Yes, he is.
He looks a lot like him, but I'm
well,
not
maybe
sure.
it's not him, but
Yeah.
he does look like him if it's not him.
Oh,
He
yeah.
kind of looks like him, but he's too. That guy's shorter than the dude that's the subway ghost. The subway ghost is like way taller. I remember that because I actually watched that scene on social media not more than 2-3 weeks ago. So.
Come on, you watch Ghost every day after work.
It's David
come home with
Paymer.
Ghost, don't you?
He's from like City Slickers and like a bunch of 90s movies like that.
So how
Yeah,
did
Shorty?
we get on to talking about him? I've forgotten.
He was
because he's Picard's doctor in season 1
Oh.
and not Beverly.
and he was on the Stargazer with Picard. So,
Okay.
right, like Jack Crusher was, who was the husband of Beverly Crusher, the father of Wesley Crusher. Like there's a lot in the Stargazer backstory and like stuff. I think that it could be a prequel. Anyway, I'm going into the synopsis now. I got enough blank stares from you guys. So
He's trying to justify Sam's comment, and okay, fair enough. I would have been the one that's like, do we need a prequel? There's so many prequels. Do we need more
Norman
prequels?
says that Damon Bach is a sea villain.
a sea villain. Well,
Yeah.
we can talk about it. He's a little mustache twirling.
He's
from
no
my-
S tier, that's for sure.
He's not S tier. So we see here that the Enterprise has been like going alongside a Ferengi ship for a couple days. They have not been talking to them for 3 days, just always getting standby. This is all kind of covered in the opening captain's log. We get more fish, of course, in Picard's quarters as Beverly Crusher shows up to treat his headache. Do they even have headaches in the 24th century? It's so rare. He's not too impressed with the Ferengi, having to wait for 3 days just to talk to the Ferengi. They eventually get called to the bridge because they're ready to talk. And we see that this headaches are here. We get to meet Damon Bach for the first time.
And his sequins.
And these little sequins
So
on the back.
I have a question. Why is it so
Grandma's
bright on the
doily.
Ferengi ship?
That's what I'm saying. They got no set design. They're just in an empty room.
Or did they
they're
just
standing
decide
in
they
front of
didn't
a
want to
softbox.
show us
What-
what the internal
in the
was?
last outpost, it was kind of established that they kind of it's kind of like a,
It's a privacy screen kind of thing?
it's a privacy screen or something. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's
Okay,
like
that would
having,
make
like,
sense, I guess.
your background up, basically.
Right.
What?
Um,
I'm
and,
really
yeah.
on the Orville.
Of course.
God.
How? Yes, of course. Sorry.
Exactly. So Troy, and even though they established later that Betazoids can't read Ferengi brains, but at this point they hadn't really written that part. And so she says, "Well, I detect deception from him. So he should beam over here because it's kind of like this question of whether Picard should beam over there or Damon will beam here. But it doesn't really matter to Damon Bach because he's got this sort of planned out either way. I'm sure this guy is completely, benign. He'll never do anything.
He's on the up and up.
He's on the up and up. He's complete legit. And Worf was just like, I can't believe
they're coming here.
Okay, and now I'm gonna have to comment on Worf because I always comment on Worf. Worf is fucking useless in this episode. Totally useless.
he brought Captain Picard's chest to his quarters.
Oh well, that's handy.
Well, he did. He was useful.
He helped clear the Stargazer.
If anything, he actually hurt Picard because he brought the chest that had the thing in it.
How about Tashiar, who didn't seem to want to inspect anything coming over
She
from
at
the
least,
Stargazer?
hey, she at least secured the Stargazer when they went over.
But
No,
tech
clearly
suite?
not, because there was a mind probe in that chest.
It's called a thought maker.
It's
fella.
a thought
maker.
maker.
Whatever.
God,
What
what kind of show are you running here?
I don't know. What kind
I'm
of
going back to the
security
Orville.
details Tasha running? That's my question. Anyway, so
Not a
that's
good one.
that's the whole teaser for the beginning of the episode. The Ferengi are going to beam over to the Enterprise, and they got something up their sleeve. But what are you going to do? As we
Remember,
head
this
in-
crew already encountered them once where they were using space lightsaber whips
yes,
and
Mhm.
trying to hurt them, but yet we're gonna let them out of the ship this time.
they're trying to they're trying to establish diplomatic relations with them, but it turns out that there was a Ferengi captain who had a grudge with Picard, that's what's going to be revealed here. So Picard's back in sickbay, getting more treatments for his headaches. Dr. Beverly Crusher more concerned, worried about this. Heads up to the bridge where Wesley says, "I'm detecting weird." Oh no, he's the one who detects the Stargazer approaching first.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah, there's two moments in this episode where Wesley Crusher basically is the only one who knows what the hell's going on.
Yeah,
He
they're
talks
the ones
about-
when he's talking to the women.
He
Yeah.
even mentions here that he has boosted the efficiency of the long range sensors, and Data is like, "What?"
I know. While I was watching it, I made a note about that, and also about the part where he says, "Well, I don't know much about brain scans, but blah blah blah," and like tells everything that's going on. And then after they leave, he goes, "You're welcome, ladies."
Yeah, you're welcome, ladies.
This is the kind of writing
Adults.
that made people hate the Wesley character.
It's
You know,
true.
like Will Wheaton was really doing his best with that, and come on, you made him an insufferable little know-it-all.
And this is also a kid who starred in a major movie before this and did really well. So
He's a Wesley Sue.
Is this the introduction of that shirt? Like the
I
think
love
it
this shirt.
Yeah.
And you know what? I've always loved the clothing that they put him in because it's hilarious. But I only realized like within the last few years, the 3 color stripes are the colors
the
of
colors
the
of the
division.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, because
I
now
can't- and then once I
he's
put
an
that together, I was
honorary-
like, how did I not notice that before? It's
he's
very
an-
obvious.
yeah, because now he's an acting ensign, I guess. So the idea is that he's not actually in a proper uniform. I don't know. It's kind of
But he could go into any branch, and that's why he has all 3 colors.
That's right.
Oh.
Although I don't know if like he doesn't have the comm badge even yet, so it's kind of like to me, it's not like clear.
Yeah, they're like, this kid, we're not going to talk to this fucking kid.
I don't know how you would know that this isn't just like a shirt he picked out of the closet, you know, or
He probably
anyway.
made it himself.
He totally
He
replicated
doesn't
it
know much
himself.
about braid scans or clothing making, but he still pulled it off.
He knows about sweaters, Jody.
Does anybody need a sweater? I have got more sweaters than you would believe.
It's true.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially
So-
those thick ass ones that he was wearing later on.
He was wearing some. So up until the 8 episodes before this, he's had some interesting sweaters going on.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so Wesley kind of gets banished away because they're like a constellation class ship is coming at us. That's weird. It has no registry numbers. It's not entering hails, but they're dealing with this Ferengi thing, and so they got to deal with that matter first. So the Ferengi beam over in their weird swirly beam-in effect here.
That's a cool effect, though.
Yeah, it's neat. It's different. It's different than the way Starfleet does
Man,
it. for
those
sure.
boots.
The boots with the fur, amazing.
They are made for walking for sure.
Mhm.
Like, and the straps around the pants. I don't know. Like
It's almost
this
like
uniform-
somebody was like, what would Fred Flintstone wear to the lodge?
It is a
But
little
in
Flintstone.
future.
Yeah.
Yeah. I much prefer the Ferengi uniform that comes later. It's more like a business
Yes,
suit, you
me
know. But
too,
this,
yeah.
this is they're still
Actually,
into this.
I think Quark's outfit is probably one of the best ones.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Quark has
Quark-
a lot of cool clothes.
So we meet Damon Bach and his first officer, Kalago, I think is his name, and there's like another guy here, Rata maybe, who's in just in the beginning part here, and you know they're saying hello. They want to buy Data. You know how much will he be? But he's not for sale. He's secondhand merchandise.
Do you know how much time they could have saved in this series if Data wasn't in it? Like he causes a lot of shit, right? So
Yeah,
maybe
He
they
also
should have.
saves way more
That's
shit.
true.
This
I know, I'm
This
just-
ship
I'm
would have been
being facetious.
destroyed.
But when you think about it, though, like there's a lot of stuff that happened to them that was directly related to Data.
Good and bad. He saved their ass too a bunch of times.
Oh,
So
Way
And-
more, yeah.
and there was a lot of times, yeah, they would have not made it without Data.
Sure.
Anyway, so there's a ship coming here. Damon Bach says we have your old ship, this that from the Battle of Maxia, and there's sort of this long reveal here, where you're just like, can you get to the point,
So,
David Bach?
I have a problem with this scene, and I'm going to tell you why. We can see the Stargazer on the screen at this point. You can distinctively see the profile of this ship, and yet
Yes.
Picard has not clued in that this is a ship that he served on.
Well, he thought it was destroyed.
Poor eyesight in his age.
Oh, come on, though. Like it's until
He's
they
got
actually
a headache. Jody.
He's got a headache. It's not the only ship of that class.
This
There's
is the
many ships.
future, and they can't find any fucking ibuprofen for the guy. Like,
Right.
It's amazing.
This is it's like if what kind of car do you got against Jody? Or your old? What's your last car? And would you know if it was your old car coming at you?
I would know the profile of the car. Yeah, absolutely.
But what if it was? It could just be another one, like the same color and the same.
Oh, absolutely, it could be. But how many of these look like that? Like he would at least go, "Oh, look, it looks like a Stargazer class."
Well, yeah, because he served on a Constellation class ship this very ship for 22 years.
Yeah.
So but apparently no. They're like, well, magnify. He's getting more headaches as we're going.
Those
here.
headaches are bad. It's probably Troy that's causing them more than anybody.
I'm sure it's not the Ferengi doing it. Don't worry about that. It's all a
Yeah, what a
coincidence.
coincidence, but yet nobody clues into this until like three
Right.
quarters of the way through.
Yeah.
And so, Damon Box, like, he's got this huge review. He's like, have a closer look. It's your old ship, the Stargazer, which he's willing to offer free of charge. He's offering this as a gift of friendship to Starfleet and the Federation that he found how it got there.
And nobody thought that this was a problem.
Yeah.
No, why would
Like,
it?
Amazing.
So it seemed like I'm still even confused about like why Picard even abandoned the ship, if it was
Because it was on fire.
It was on fire, but it not enough that it was burned down.
Probably the fire suppression system was on fire as well. And you can't fix it then.
I
Okay.
believe I feel like they just alluded to the fact that they were in such a battle that the ship was like irreparable, so they had to.
Well, they did get fired on
survive.
first, apparently. So
Well, I guess the question is,
we don't know the damage.
how much did Damon Bach fix up this ship before he brought it back? For this little because he's been working on this for 9 years, so I guess there's potentially.
Well, 9 years to source Federation parts. He must have been doing it like Johnny Cash, one piece at a time.
Yeah.
He went to the Jody School of Restoration, I guess.
Yeah, quite the revenge plot, I gotta say. Anyway,
Yeah,
so now
this is very elaborate.
Yeah, Picard goes to sickbay in the next scene where they're still trying to get to the bottom of his headaches. Riker shows up, and then they end up going up to the conference lounge where Picard talks about this battle he had with the Ferengi, but he didn't know it was a Ferengi ship, and that he was like, well, they wouldn't identify themselves, they wouldn't do this, but then we learned about the Picard maneuver.
The Picard maneuver.
A textbook thing, which he even shows us here with a ballpoint pen of all things.
I thought this was going a completely different way when I saw this.
Why does he have a ballpoint pen?
That's also a very good question, come to think of it.
It looks like it's spray painted gray, so you'll think it's like a stylus of the future.
Maybe, yeah. I was like, what is he holding? And
yeah,
he's using
it's probably on the stylus that like
It's probably like a
Jake Sisko
digitizer
uses when
for
he
like
writes,
from the
it's probably
pad
for like AutoCAD.
I know what it is, guys. It's Picard's vape pen.
Oh, it could be his vape pen.
Yeah,
It
To
could
work on
also
his
be like a
headaches.
meat thermometer for kitchen work. Who knows?
could be a rectal thermometer too.
Rectal thermometer. Yeah.
So,
He's really taking these migraines seriously.
yes, he's willing to try anything. So,
It's
yeah.
a suppository
Twice a
holder.
day.
Anyway, so then we head over to the Stargazer, which, by the way, this whole Constellation class ship, I'm like, why does this? You don't this one shot doesn't give it justice, but this class of ship has like 7 shuttle bays, and it's mostly shuttle bays, and I'm always like, why so many shuttle bays?
Troop transport.
We see that it's registry number of like 29 something or other. It indicates that
2983, I think.
this is an old ship. This is like by Picard, by the time of the Enterprise D, like this is probably would have been decommissioned by now. Probably didn't have many more
Probably
years
should
in
have been decommissioned before he had it.
Probably, yeah.
You're talking an 80-year-old design, really.
Yeah, basically, like it seems like it's as old as Picard himself, if not older.
Yeah.
And so the ship they're investigating it, Worf and all them. They get the power cells back on. They find his old logs, which even includes like, what Picard said at the time.
I do like the computer screens in this one though.
It looks like DOS.
It looks
Yeah.
like DOS.
It does.
And
look
DOS
like
was a thing at this time.
Oh, totally.
Oh yeah.
But
Also, the
I
music
supported
in
DOS back then.
the music in this scene is very lets you know that this was made in 1987. It's so
Yeah.
synth. It's like beep 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 boop 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 do 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 do, like.
yeah.
And then the DOS heads up display on the computer. It's very much a product of its time.
It gets better. It gets better on the show with some of like even the music and stuff. But yeah, they're still very much in this 80s era. It kind of gradually goes into 90s as we head into the later seasons. But yeah, we see Picard comes over with
They
Beverly
didn't even
Crusher.
bother to clean the consoles, like a little bit of Windex or something.
Yeah,
These
I would
Frankies are assholes.
like. I kind of wish that because just with the whole backstory with Jack Crusher, I kind of wish that this was more of a thing for Beverly in this scene too, because she would have
Yeah,
presumably
because she would.
Yeah, she's
she
like,
would
oh,
know
this
the
is where my
shit.
husband died. Cool, cool, cool. Anyway, you have a headache,
Yeah, let's
Picard,
not talk about that
or-
right now.
right.
Good point,
Yeah,
good
but that's
And
point.
it's
not
already
that,
established that her husband died.
yes, and the
So,
Picard was the
like,
one who was
yeah,
there when
this-
he died.
That was
and,
definitely
like,
a missed
and
opportunity.
the Picard
on
and
his part.
like Picard and Crusher know each other from those days. So this all ties into that. Anyway,
He's very
but,
formal for the first season, though.
yeah. And Beverly Crusher gets not great
And
writing
she's not-
in this.
Wow. Yeah.
She's kind of a very one-dimensional character in this whole season. But
Well,
um,
let's talk about Troy. My
Tro-
God, her lines
Troy's
are terrible
superpowers
in
are
this
very
episode.
inconsistent. That's a whole other matter. But
Yeah.
you know,
I don't even know how she got an acting job based on
and
this.
and like, you know, not to keep with the theme of the women here, but Tasha Yar may be the worst security chief I've seen. You know, so it's like
Other than Worf.
other than Worf.
Listen,
so-
Worf did get better when they gave him the metal sash. He couldn't do anything with that fabric sash.
No, it was
No
not.
power.
It had no
Oh.
power. Yeah, exactly.
That's a good
So
theory.
so Picard goes to his old cabin here on the Stargazer, finds, like, you know, stuff he would have had to have left behind back 9 years ago. You know, so
Behold the thought maker.
the Thought Maker's just kind of sitting there in that trunk, and he
Okay.
doesn't notice it.
So I don't know how you guys pack things, but you know what? He's got this thing that he's going to take his stuff back with them. How did that get in there, and why didn't he question it? He's clearly got uniforms in there now. Like,
Right.
okay,
No,
maybe this
it's-
was a Foot Locker.
It's
Okay.
one thought maker and one uniform jacket is all that's in this bag.
Okay, but I don't even know what to say. This is so stupid. Like I can understand if, like, the Fergie's like hid it in, like, the wall of this thing or something like that. Like, this is a real stretch. Like, how did they know he was gonna use this box?
I guess they just Damon Bach. He figures it all out. He even gets an attack here of the headaches, but he just thinks he's sick or under stress. So
Yeah.
you know, so we keep going here. We see Damon Bach in his evil lair, that it's not so brightly white behind him here, as you can see.
Now, do you feel that this was too early to show us what was causing these headaches?
No, because we all know.
Like, we know they're behind it, but did we need to see it this early in the episode? I don't think we did. But anyway,
I don't know. I
Just an
just
observation.
I think I'm with Heather here, where it's so obvious that he's
absolutely
he's behind
obvious.
things here. You know, especially it's kind of even implied in that earlier scene where he wants to give the Stargazer for free, and the other
Yes.
Ferengi are like, "What are you doing? No profit?" You know, it's like, how could this be?
There's like 3 times they're like, what do you mean free? Okay, fine. What free?
And I
They were
kind of
free.
do like this relationship that Riker and the first officer of the Ferengi ship, what's his name? Kazago. You know, they kind of
Commander to
established
commander.
through here. They have a series of conversations, first officer to first officer.
Yeah, I thought
Um,
that was cool too.
Yeah, like I thought to show, I think to show us that not all Ferengi are complete dorks, and that's, you know, that some of them have, you know, you can get that connection with them.
they're not
That's
all curtain heads.
You're right. Well, they're they're not all like Bach, you know.
Yeah.
I think more than anything. And so and then Picard comes to the bridge next. He's still clearly not doing well.
Okay, so
Um,
as the first officer, when you see your captain as at this point, why are you letting him stay there?
You know, like I especially after that episode we covered a little while ago. What was it called? Lonely Among Us, where, you know, he lost his mind. He was mind controlled, and
Oh yeah,
you know, and like Riker and Crusher couldn't stop him. You think they would have moved past a little bit of here, of being able to, like, sort of say,
yeah.
hey,
Like, at this point, he's obviously incapacitated, so it's time to relieve him of command. Like,
No, look at him. He looks fine.
he's good. He's good.
just a headache that I keep having every single time I'm near the chest that I brought over from the thing. You know, the one that I didn't look into while I was actually packing things.
And Troy, you know, you think that this would even be up, like, in her purview, to sort of get
Troy's
involved with.
useless in this episode.
But yeah,
Well, she does say that she senses his thoughts, but it's like there's two sets of his thoughts.
right.
She did
So
say that.
So she can come to no conclusions, apparently. So there's all that, and I think there's also at this point in the dynamic with Picard is that the rest of the crew is kind of still afraid of him. So they're only willing to push so far. Even
I don't
even
think
Dr.
Riker
Crusher.
is now at this point, though.
You wouldn't think, but I don't know. It seems like he's still tentative with it all. Even Beverly Crusher, you would think would be the least amount with that. Even she's a little bit, hesitant.
Well,
So anyway, we see.
until season 3, they don't really establish that they're like good friends, though.
Well, they don't start really writing Dr. Crusher well until she's brought back. Yeah, you're right.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, in season 4 or 5, they become really good friends.
Oh, really
Yeah.
good.
Yes, spoilers, they have a kid together later too.
Eventually.
But that hasn't happened yet. Anyway, so the chest in Picard's quarters. I don't know what could be causing this.
Can we just talk about how the beds on the Enterprise are ridiculously uncomfortable? Look at him. What is he sleeping on?
well, they changed them later. This is actually a couch. It's not his bed.
Well,
Oh.
it's terrible. Look at him. He
absolutely.
hates it.
He does.
Maybe that's what's causing his fucking migraines. Maybe it's just- you keep sleeping sideways on your
problems.
fucking terrible couch.
Oh, was this the point where? This is where Data shows up. We have a captain's log where Picard says that he actually attacked the Ferengi ship 9 years ago on purpose, without provocation, and he's confessing, and all this. And it seems like Picard is guilty of war crimes. What's Riker going to do now? Do you believe Picard is Wesley's real dad?
I gotta move me down here so I'm not blocking Heather. Do you believe the fan theory that Picard is Wesley's real dad? No.
Like, is that something they could actually hide? Like, I guess the doctor could.
Why if they were just gonna make him Wesley's dad, why not just make him Wesley's dad in Picard season 3 instead of going through the trouble of introducing Jack Crusher?
Right. Junior. So there's this whole thing here too with Picard and Riker where, Riker's like, well, I kind of have to inform Starfleet, which is going to take a day to get from the message to get there. And then a day for the message to come back. But he's like, oh, they're going to want my command for this. The Ferengi are giving us ships as gifts. I've got logs that say I attacked without provocation.
But you already lost a ship and they gave you a command.
Well, maybe he had to work his way back over those 9 years.
Oh, maybe.
As the headaches continue here. So Riker is kind of in a position where he has to sort of investigate this. He goes
or he can
to
relieve his captain of command, which is what he should be doing.
you see. I think there's a great shot of it here, but Riker kind of yells at Jody as he goes into the ready room. He's like, "Leave me alone, Jody. I need a secure channel to that first officer buddy of mine over on the Ferengi ship." So he calls the Ferengi guy over here. And he says, well, let me ask you this. Why would Picard, if we attacked you? No, wait. How does he present this question? You guys, I'm just trying to recall. Basically, he was like, do you think it's kind of fishy here with your captain? And he's like, I don't. It's not good to question one's daemon.
I do like your Ferengi, by the way.
Yes. But he's kind of trying to say I think that Damon Bach is up to something. What's he doing? Question. What does he say?
Now, see, I think that Ferengi are so profit driven that they already would have kicked Damon Bach out of this shit. Going on this completely convoluted revenge plan that he didn't tell anybody about and giving away a ship for free and doing a bunch of
He's
other
making
nonsense.
no profit. Yes, exactly.
They've been like, sip it up, put him in the brig, let's go make some profit. I think
That's the crime that they ultimately cinch him for is
yes.
did the crime of having made no profit with this venture. So it was
Right. It's not, and having lied, and so he says, let me ask you one more question, Kazago.
As you humans say, I'm all ears.
Yes, you are all ears.
The writer that wrote that was like,
Yeah. He's like, give me my daytime Emmy.
He says, if Bach knew about the fact that Picard attacked the Stargazer on purpose 9 years ago, or sorry, the Ferengi ship, his son's ship, 9 years ago, and he was guilty of this. Then why this peaceful meeting to present the Stargazer to the Picard, right? If he knew that he was supposedly guilty of this,
Which is a logical question.
right? And then he's like, "Shut up! I don't know. Goodbye." You know, and he's
I
just
don't
like,
question him. Goodbye.
yeah.
Actually, my Ferengi isn't too bad either.
Yeah, we shall play.
I think you and me.
That
could do
was
a
kind of
Ferengi
veering into Yoda
show.
territory.
It
I
was,
feel
though,
like.
yeah. Thanks, Heather.
Lonely Among Us. Okay. Anyway,
Thanks for your support.
You're welcome.
So Picard is dying of these migraines. Dr. Crusher shows up to try to do more treatment here. But, now that these logs are out, that he did all this stuff, and, Damon Buck is like pulling the strings more with his thought maker, causing more pain here. And, Picard's like, I don't know what I did. Maybe I made the wrong decision,
How do I know I was in my right mind? How do I know I'm in my right mind now?
Yeah, he's losing.
How do I know I'm
mind.
in my right mind?
How do I know I'm in my right mind? Anyway, so Dr. Crusher gives him a hypo spray, tries to give him some stuff to go to sleep here. She tucks him into bed, and turns out the lights, but for Picard, it's not gonna be that easy because he's in that room with the chest with the thought maker thing, and Damon Bach is up to no good here as he continues his evil ways. We see all these
before they had the budget to put the little flashing LEDs on the thing.
Yes.
Yeah, no flashing LEDs.
Little Legos hot glued to his head.
Right.
Yeah, something like that.
Exactly. They are basically like like little Legos.
Also, all the little medical devices that Crusher was using, I noticed that
None
they
of
all
them light
kind of
up.
look like Tic Tac boxes.
Yeah.
They probably are. And then he wakes up here. You see here that the ghosts of the Stargazer crew, appear in his quarters.
So this is the one scene that I think they actually did really well. I like the fact that they used his quarters and then overlapped it with the people.
Yeah,
I thought that was really visually. That's really cool. I think
he sits in that chair in the middle of the room like it's the captain's chair.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it's right, and there's
and he's living it out in his head, right? Like it's.
Right.
See, I didn't get that. I didn't realize it was meant to be his quarters. That's why I said earlier, there's not even a captain's chair. He's sitting on a stool in the middle of the bridge. I was thinking this was meant to be the bridge of the Stargazer.
Well, he still has a shitty chair when he's actually on the Stargazer.
Yeah.
It's not much better of a chair, but
that's why we were talking about the things that flip over.
Right. Yeah. I wasn't sure what y'all were on about, but I just let you go on with it.
Fair enough.
So I see all the crew here, including many mentions of Vigo, and then back up on
Is he a
in the ready room.
Carpathian?
He is Vigo. Anyway,
checking.
so Data says, anyway, so I've analyzed the log, where Picard says, he's guilty of war crimes. And Data's like, one of these is fake and one of them is real. And then Jordy's like, yeah, the one from the Stargazer is the fake one. He goes, yeah, that's one of them.
Yeah, what fucking where? Who the hell wrote that?
Barely did. Then Picard shows up all smiles. He's the captain of the ship. He's having a great night's sleep here.
Yeah, I thought he got a happy ending, but I could.
Dr. Crusher shows up and says, "What the hell? I thought I put you in bed."
I thought I put you in bed.
Anyway, so he sends Data and Geordi away, and Dr. Crusher under duress. He wants to talk to Commander Riker.
I like how she says under duress, like that means any fucking difference to them anyway. It's like whatever.
Right.
Go
and
home,
then
Beverly.
He talks to Riker and he's like, "Hey, I want you to cut the tractor beam on the Stargazer." And he goes, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, I want you to cut it because they technically the Stargazer is going to keep going with its own inertia. So did you miss the lecture on tractor beam power conservation?"
Yeah. What the hell was that? Never
like,
to
Not
be
only that, the
spoken of
amount
again.
of fucking lights that are always on this ship is insane.
Well,
This would make a middle-aged father mental, having to pay the bill on this.
Just check the
internal
thermostat.
combustion engine that's forever going. Isn't power just What's the warp course for?
They have kind of unlimited power, but yeah, it's not unlimited, but I don't think a tractor beam is doing too much. Anyway, so then we see Picard's not quite right. We see here's where they turn off the tractor beam on the Stargazer.
But
So
remember, he's still in charge of an
investigation.
Of an investigation. Not only that, he's also, the flagship of the Federation. He still has full armament capability, but nobody bothers to question any of this. It's like,
no,
okay,
He's fine.
He's fine. Anyway, let's have a look at his neural scan. Is not quite showing Beverly Crusher and Deanna Troi what they need to know here, but who's to the rescue?
And the line that Troy says in this is absolutely terrible, and I can't remember what it is now. I should have wrote it down.
I can try to see.
It was like right at the beginning.
She says, "I'm puzzled too. I keep sensing some random thoughts, but 2 sets of them, as if they were his, but intermixed other thoughts which are also his."
She was on point for the first half of the episode with her powers, and then the last half she's like,
she's just useless.
I don't know what's going on.
Somebody get a teenager to read these brain scans.
Go get the teenager that apparently can make things more efficient than the android. The guy that's infinitely got more wisdom than Wesley, but
like even Dr. Crusher is so unimpressed with Wesley.
Yeah, she's just like, "Fucking, you're my kid. What a nerd."
Oh, the boy here to tell me everything.
Shut up, Wesley.
He's like, well, we're detecting all like these low frequency transmissions coming from the Ferengi ship. That's kind of fishy. And they kind of match these scans in the captain's brain. And I don't know much about brain scans, but that looks like the same thing. And Dr. Crusher's like, "Shut up! Like, I could have figured this out on my own.
I went to medical school for 8 fucking years, you little idiot."
And that's such a trope that they do, especially with Wesley and Data. And they do it to both of them in this episode, where they ask them a question and then they're telling them. And I'm like, "I don't need a science report, Data. Just tell me."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Later on, when Riker's like, "Just tell me." Oh, yeah. It was actually just before this.
Yeah.
When they're in
like,
the
well, why ask him then?
Yeah. Like, why
Keep
did
it
you
brief.
bother?
Yeah. And then last week
But
in last
Picard
episode,
does that too to Data as well.
Yes, all the
Constantly, he
time.
cuts him off. Yeah.
Yeah, Picard has Data question last episode, and then Data's like giving all this information. She's like, "Just keep it brief," and Data's like, "Yes, no," giving him like the most casual answers. And then he's like, "Data, if you could give us the important information, please." And he's just like, "Why don't you just let him?" You
have
save
to
yourself more
ask
time.
Data the exact right question to get exactly
right
how you want the info.
It's like using Chat GPT.
Yeah. Anyway, so and here I had to pull this thing with Wesley at the end where he's like,
Adults.
They could have said thanks. Anyway.
Well, they are kind of dicky to him. Like he
They
didn't solve
really
the problem
are.
realistically.
Yeah. And this is his mother.
Oh, his mother is like, "Fuck, he's a nerd. I don't even want to be associated with
So
him."
anyway, they show up. Like Wesley Crusher told us how to save the day. About these brain scans. Like, in Riker's like, "What?" And then they talk
genius
about,
Worf jumps in.
They do a scan here, and they're like, we're detecting those frequencies coming from Captain Picard's quarters. Didn't something come over from the Stargazer? Yeah, Worf brought it over.
It's all Worf's fault, really.
It's all
It's always Worf's fault.
Okay, fine.
Fucking
It's
Worf.
fault. All right, and then so we see here that they can't. What's also happened here is Captain Picard is beamed over to the Stargazer somehow.
Can I ask
on
a
his own.
question?
Mhm.
Why do we have to label the helm?
I know, and tactical was also labeled.
Oh, was
saw
it? I didn't see
earlier.
that.
Yes, tactical.
Like, is this like the Fisher Price? Like, first,
It's
Dad's
my first starship. Yeah.
What if you're an alien species that doesn't read English?
But why would they need to know what the helm is?
It's a design choice. I don't know. So
Wow,
anyway,
he just like showed up there. That was pretty
yeah,
good.
amazing with those beaming abilities. Yeah, so he's on the Stargazer bridge, and guess who's here? Damon Bach with his
Thought maker.
thought maker. He reveals he's the father of the commander he killed 9 years ago. Who he's torturing Picard with this device. We see here that the Stargazer is now moving. Yeah, this is kind of the exposition where they figure it out, and now the Stargazer is moving on its own power.
Why
Um,
wouldn't they know that Damon Bach was on that ship?
I don't know. How is he able to beam out with the shields up? Is the other question.
The Thought Maker.
The
The
thought.
Thought Maker
It's the
helped
Thought
him do
Maker.
it.
Yeah, the thought
It's
maker
like,
helps him do
it's like
everything.
Mentos. It does everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we gotta like
Mentos, the Thought Maker.
I'd say that Damon Bach is the most Bond villain of all of these villains. Star Trek villains have come along. Was he kind of? He's like, and my evil plan that you never would have suspected is actually this. You know. This thought maker will make you fight your compatriots, you know, and so Picard can't do anything, you know. He can't. He's
Do you think
sort
they
of
just repurposed one of those like globes that turn into like a mini bar?
And let
Go
it
back
up
to it.
from the inside.
It totally looks like it.
could be. Yeah, it had to be made out of something. My other
At
question
least
was,
it lights up.
is this device Ferengi in origin, like, or is this something he bought from an alien? You know.
Well, if it's Ferengi in origin, it would definitely have some sort of, like fringe on it or something. It'd have some lace or something. Yeah, sequence.
Yeah. Like the design on the bottom part makes me think it is Ferengi, because Ferengi does often have like this spherical
bar
kind of shape.
things, yeah.
But
Oh, it's like a discount Bajoran orb.
Oh, maybe.
maybe the Ferengi would like a discount. So so David Bach beams away here somehow with the Thoughtmaker's powers. Now it's like Riker in a much superior ship against the Stargazer. This shouldn't even be a fight.
No.
But between these two ships, but because Picard has this Picard maneuver, we're led to believe that Picard, even at the command of a ship with no crew, can give the
Well, the
Enterprise
Ferengi made it so
D.
he can just fly it.
Yeah, he made it so that he doesn't need
It's
a
all
crew.
voice commanded. And
And
we know how
maybe-
much, and we know how well that works. Whenever I ask Google to take me to a location and it has no fucking idea what I just said.
Yeah,
But,
like I don't like. It's not quite the same as like when the Reliant fought the Enterprise 1701 back in Wrath of Khan. You know, I think this is a little bit more of a mismatch.
Yeah.
But anyway, they found like the Mind Thought Maker, whatever hell it's called. And I think this
And
is
Jordy's like, I'm gonna use my eyes.
yeah. They're always trying to use, like in this first season. Like
Really
now I'm
peer
noticing
at
that
it.
they try to find any reason for Jody's visor to become useful.
What,
in the
what was
mission.
that, Murphy?
I was just gonna really peer at it, you know.
Yeah, I'll just
I'm
keep
good.
looking at it.
Good
I'm
glance.
gonna really give it a good look.
There's so many wires inside of it, guys. It's very complicated.
It's very. This looks like it's runs on some form of electricity. Okay.
If
And
the
then,
light didn't give it away.
He calls over to Kazago, who he's like, look at this thought maker thing. Do you know what this is? And he's like, that's an illegal device. How'd you get it? He's like, come on. Do you think that we brought this, or do you think David Bach brought this? He's like,
Technically, they did. Worf
well,
brought
technically, they did bring it from the Stargazer, but
Worf brought
yeah.
it, technically.
technically, but I think Kazago's like, oh, this is not good.
There's no profit here.
There's no profit here. I'm gonna have to, answer to the Grand Nagus when I get back. So I, can't go this. Where's Hoshi?
Wrong series.
She is long dead at this point.
She's dead at this point.
Yeah, for like a while.
Spoiler.
Oh, we should have put the spoiler alert up.
Yeah. Anyway, so then Picard now mind controlled on the Stargazer bridge. He's like, he thinks that the Enterprise is that ship, the Damon Bach's son was commanding all those years ago. He's like, you don't attack us. You identify or we'll defend ourselves. And he's like, get the shields online. And he's like giving all these like orders to like ghosts,
See, Heather's right though. He does look like he's sitting on a stool.
He does.
Yeah. But that is the same bridge that like I think Shatner and all them had in Star Trek 5,
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Right. Anyway, just like a little bit redressed. Anyway, so then the Picard's getting ready to do his Picard maneuver. He's getting, get everything ready, get the torpedoes ready, damn it, man. Vigo, what's up? He's like, oh, we're ready to go, sir. He's like, great, we're gonna take him down. Troy's like,
later we'll go back in time and take on those Ghostbusters.
Exactly. So he goes, Data, find what's the counter to the Picard maneuver? He goes, there is none. He goes, then devise one now.
Okay, I have a problem with this too because Data can calculate pretty quick. So when he asked that question, why didn't he start calculating then? He had to be told to actually do it.
Yeah, well, that's sometimes the issue with Data is that he's kind of doesn't have any sort of
Data's just like on, like,
intuition.
Maybe he's
does-
still
like
mad about
ChatGPT.
being told to shut up earlier.
Probably.
Didn't want a computer science lesson. Fine.
Yeah,
I'll just
Fine.
give you.
Go fuck yourself. You figure it out yourself, buddy.
He's quiet quitting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
He's rage quitting.
Anyway, so then so he says, okay, well, we have relieved Damon Bach of command, first officer to first officer, and he's like, this is a Federation matter now, so bye. That's kinda-
It's like, this is your
Bye.
fucking problem now.
yeah, not our problem. See ya. And it's
We're
kind of
going
like
to Deep Space Nine.
So now it's Riker versus Picard, and he's like, I got an idea. Even though that this Picard maneuver is going to, because if you go to warp and there's going to seem to be two stargazers there, he's like, we'll be able to follow the gases, and then we'll know which one's real. And he's like, that will give us a target to
Blow our captain to bits.
blow our captain to
Blow
bits.
our
He's like,
bits.
and he's like, well, not really. We have a tractor beam. We can just like grab the ship in the tractor beam. He's like, oh, okay. Let's do that then. And so that's
I
kind of
like this that Riker says, I hope you're right, Data. And Data goes, no question of it, sir. Cold as ice, mic
Yeah,
drop.
he's like, fucking, he's like, boom, bitch.
Yeah, loved it.
Yeah, well, so
Why
anyway,
don't you go climb on some chairs, asshole?
we get to actually
Listen,
see
the Riker maneuver is amazing.
the Riker maneuver. You're right.
Mhm.
I think I have that somewhere here on my soundboard. Because Jody calls that out in Star Trek Insurrection, which is Jody's favorite Star Trek movie.
It is
if
the
you
only
didn't know.
good line in that entire fucking movie.
Listen,
We're
I'm not
getting
fighting with
started
you
on this
about
again.
this, Jody.
all right?
Let's carry on with this review.
All right, let's
Right.
do that, even though you're wrong. Anyway,
Jeez, I thought I definitely had that.
Yes. All right.
Whatever. Anyway, so we see here that the Stargazer goes to warp, and now there's two of them, right?
I did like that effect though.
That is cool,
was-
yeah.
It's
You
very,
know?
it's very Star Trek movie.
And he's like, "Well, grab him with the tractor beam." Okay, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Picard's like, "What?
Problem solved.
Did my Picard maneuver not work?"
There's the chair arms. I see it now. It is still just a stool, though.
It is basically a stool.
It's kind of like built into the floor, yeah.
Yeah.
Because like the back of the chair kind of goes.
It,
Oh
like,
no, there's
leans-
actually like
there is a
behind his
bar
foot
there.
here. There's like
Yeah,
a
there is a
bar
bar
that goes
there.
up vertically here, yeah.
Right.
Right. Anyway,
A very good design for a ship that could possibly be in like some sort of turbulence. It's great to design it on an angle like that.
it's also like on like a weird grate or something. I don't know. Like it's kind of interesting. Anyway, so this is where Riker's like, "It's me, you're number one." He's like, "Are you Vigo? Vigo?" He's like, "No, you see like a silver orb there?" He's like, "Shoot it with your phaser. Come on, shoot it with your phaser."
Should
Oh.
have told Phaser.
And we see here, can
Phaser.
can Riker get through to him from this ship? Okay, and then good thing he brought a phaser. And we see here,
She's aware. Trust me. She knows. Nemesis. is
Okay.
awesome.
So this looks terrible, y'all.
What? Hold on. Go back one for a second. What is with his fucking legs?
Yes, this looks so bizarre. Look at this. It's like it couldn't have looked worse if they had used a puppet.
They could have used like a marionette. and it
But you
would've
mean
been
you mean
better.
you mean specifically when he goes flying?
Yes, and when
Yeah.
he's standing there, he looks weird, and when he goes flying, and then like when
It's
his
almost
head
like
is
they
close to
stretched
the
the
thing,
shot or something. Yeah.
it's
Yeah, it's
very
almost like
obvious
it's a
that it's
stunt
not.
double.
It's
Yeah.
a stunt double.
It's almost like
Of
they
course
replaced
it
him with a
is.
6'8" person.
You should have seen Wesley's stunt double in the last episode. It was definitely
yeah.
not good. Yeah. Anyway, so they're like, "Okay, is Picard dead? He blew up the thing," and then the smoke clears. He's fine. And he's like,
Why
"Where's
is the
Damon Bach?"
Why is the Picard maneuver so great if it could be counteracted with just a tractor beam?
Well, it took Data to figure out the counter. Until then, there was no counter.
Makes
So I guess it's,
Nobody
it's
thought to
obsolete now.
catch it.
Yeah.
Only Data. It's like, what if we just slowed it down with a tractor beam?
Well, yeah. Like we can figure out which one's the real one, buy the gas, and then whatever. So he's like, he's like, Damon Bach was trying to get revenge. And he's like, revenge never is worth the cost. Anyway, that's it. Number one, beam me home.
The end.
The end. And
Headache's gone. Good day.
that is like it's a really like
It's
abrupt.
a very
ending.
abrupt ending.
Yeah.
It's very Enterprise when it comes to endings.
Yeah.
Just
so-
put
Enterprise
the
was just
ship
full
in
of
the
that.
museum.
Literally at like 2 minutes before the end of this episode, that's when they solve everything, and then literally it just cuts to the credits.
Yeah, exactly. So if anybody would like some trivia, I can pull that.
Is it
up.
Details with Dave time?
It is. You want
Ooh.
to hit my banner?
Ooh, I can hit your banner.
So here we go. The USS Stargazer had the warp effect from the TOS era movies instead of the warp effect used in the TNG era. Okay.
Yes, which I
Ah.
liked. That was
Mhm.
a nice little nod. I liked
The feud between Jean-Luc Picard and Bach was revisited and finally resolved in the 7th season episode Bloodlines. It took that was that doesn't come till like the
literally
7th
from like
season.
Yeah.
first season to the 7th season is when you
Wow,
get to see
I didn't
Bach
realize
again.
that.
And it's not far. It's like maybe the 4th last episode of the series
Yeah,
or
it's
something.
pretty-
It's
it's pretty near
bizarre
the end, yeah.
placement. Yeah.
The Stargazer was originally supposed to be a Constitution II class and would have been a reused version of the USS Enterprise model from the 4 Star Trek films. However, it was decided that after the episode was filmed to change it to from a Constitution class starship to a Constellation class cruiser, so that when LeVar Burton overdubbed the line, the new dialogue would closely match his lip movements on screen. Wesley Crusher says the ship class when making his announcement on the bridge. His lips also appear to say Constitution. Data also mentions the ship's class by name when reading the dedication plaque, but his back is turned to the camera when he says Constellation. The closed caption says Constitution. This can also be confirmed as Picard's Constellation era starship model in his ready room changes to a silver Constitution II class ship model in this episode, following this episode, and in hiding queue. Whew.
All that for that.
All that for that. Constellation Constitution, completely different. All right. In this episode, Dr. Crusher says it may be true that headaches were what's quite common. That was in the days before the brain was charted, before we understood the nature of pain, when we were suffering from things such as the common cold. This indicates that headaches and the common cold are a thing of the past. Wesley Crusher also mentions the common cold and refers to it as a disease my mom says people used to get in the episode Data Lore.
I think that's such nonsense. Like, seriously, nobody in the 24th century like forgets to drink water and feels dehydrated and has a headache, like, ever. Come on.
Yeah, or gets hungover, or whatever.
Nope,
right?
synthahol.
Yeah, but some people like the real
Yeah,
stuff.
they don't always
It is
drink
true.
synthahol though.
It is
Yeah.
true.
The Zindi Sabu system could have been named after the species who evolved there or after the colonized there. The Zindi Sabu system is reported as inhabited, but it is never said who inhabits the system or what the species of inhabitants is called.
Probably the Zindi.
Will Whedon states that this episode in which Wesley went from, in Whedon's word, mildly annoying to vehemently hated character. This is when he began talking about how Wesley figured out the problem and solution before the senior staff could, which was perhaps the worst way to help the audience accept that this kid, Wesley, is going to be part of the main crew. Whedon also remarked that the scene in sickbay where Wesley tells Dr. Crusher and Troy that he glanced at the scans while Dr. Crusher was researching them, and quote, in that brief moment, magically divined exactly what the rest of the professionally trained crew, including the hyper smart robot, hadn't noticed.
Yeah.
The patterns in Picard's scan are identical to a low-intensity transmissions picked up on the Ferengi ship. Wesley cements his relationship with Trekkies by muttering, "You're welcome, ladies." Adults. After that, they leave the room. Oh, that's pure genius writing there, guys. That's not going to alienate a single fan. Bravo. That's what Whedon's word.
And as I'm sure you all know, Wesley Crusher, the character, was so hated that fans were just awful to Will Wheaton.
Oh yeah.
He was a 14-year-old. He didn't have any control over that. He just acted it and gave him a really hard time. That's rough. Yeah.
Yeah.
And with writing like that, like, how could you not dislike that character? It's so obnoxious. I think he has a real point there.
But the whole, and they write him in such a way that he's smarter than everybody else, and including his mother, and everybody else is dumb, and so. But anyway, I don't know what it was. Kind of an interesting choice. And finally, my last fact here, I suppose, is to what Heather talked about earlier. The novel "The Buried Age" establishes that the course set for the Stargazer was to have taken the ship into the atmosphere of a gas giant, Maxi Zeta 5, therefore destroying the ship. However, after the crew escaped in the ship's shuttlecraft, the Stargazer somehow bounced off the planet's atmosphere and was drifting near the planet when Bach arrived in the area, took possession of the Stargazer, and began plotting his revenge. It also establishes Bach's son was named Flax, last name Seed, and that the ship he commanded was known as the 75th Rule, referring to the 75th Rule of Acquisition, which is home is where the heart is, but the stars are made of latinum. The 75th Rule was conducting a survey of the system, discovering massive wealths of dilithium and other precious metals before the Stargazer arrived in the system on its own survey mission. Believing the Federation to be insane due to its moneyless economy, Flax ambushes the Stargazer, leading to his death in the Battle of Maxia, as it will. So there you go. All right. Well, that's with that. Let's head into our ratings and bring this up. Give me 2 seconds. And boom. All right. So, I like this episode. It's not my favorite, so I give it a 7.5. Jody?
I was thinking the exact same thing. 7.5.
Okay. And Murphy?
I'll give it a 7.
7 from Murphy. And Heather?
Really, fellas? I'm gonna give it like a 5.
Okay.
Honestly, I was thinking 5 too.
Change Murphy's.
Yeah. I'm rolling with Heather.
I don't
I'm
think
rolling
I've
5.
ever been on a podcast with Murphy where he didn't automatically change his vote to whatever somebody else said. You're that guy
that's
that
not
shows
true.
up and orders the same shit off the menu as the other person, right?
No,
Jody, fighting words.
Ah,
Jody came to fight
he knows
tonight.
I'm kidding.
I was trying to debate if this was worse than the Orville episode or not that we watched yesterday, and it's not. So
Yeah,
I
it's
was
about
thinking
on
a
par.
nice 5 would do it, but you guys
Yeah,
are giving it
it's a-
7s, and I was like, why not?
It's a 5 for me. The women don't get to do anything. Wesley's obnoxious. Worf doesn't have a cool sash yet. The Thought Maker is so stupid. But the music was cool. They had some cool flower arrangements.
What about Patrick Stewart?
Yes, Patrick Stewart. I mean, he's wonderful. He's always
He's the only reason
wonderful.
why this got a 7.5.
Yeah, he
for
does
me.
the best with the material he's given, and I thought he did really well with this. And it's nice to see a bit of interplay between him and Crusher, even though there's not a lot of substance to it yet.
Jody's a bully.
Jody is a bully to everyone.
Equal opportunity.
Raise your
bully.
hand if you've been personally victimized by Jody.
I've lost track. I
Dave,
kind
you
of
need to
wonder.
raise your hand.
I kind of wonder if I'm giving this too much of a positive review now. Like if I should take it down into.
Oh
the
my
6.
God, you guys are never make your own decisions, do you?
Well,
Jeez.
I'm just.
Jody,
I'm
are
just-
you standing by your 7.5?
I sure am.
I'm going to take it down a 0.5, Jody. I'm going to take it down to 7.
Whatever, you do you.
All right. So,
The only person who's
Eh.
ever right is me anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
exactly. Okay. Well, that's that episode. So the next episode is Hide and Q, which is what we'll be reviewing next. That is we did it on Star Trek Radio Theater a couple years ago. Jody played Q in that one.
I did.
And
Fun.
so it's so I've revisited that episode.
I would say
quite
I
a
was a
bit.
good cue, but
Oh, you were
I
good.
did good.
Go back and listen to the edited version. That's a good one.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I'm looking forward to with that. I think right now it's set to be Kevin Murphy and myself. So there is a spot open at this time.
What's the next one?
Um,
Sorry.
Hide and Q.
Yeah.
I think Heather
I'm
needs
in.
to be on the next one.
I'd love to.
We
Okay.
need this channel needs more Heather.
All right, Heather.
Thank you. This
you
is
are on-
You're
wonderful.
welcome to come on the Orville whenever you want.
Oh, I watched one episode of the Orville and I hated it. So no,
You
thank
should keep
you.
watching it. It's actually much better.
No, it's terrible. None for me,
Yeah.
thanks.
Well, Davin just smiled.
Yeah, Devin's like, will you marry me?
Yeah. My dad will not be on the next one, Sam, but I think we're gonna bring my dad back for the Big Goodbye or something like that.
That would
That's
be
a
There's a-
fun
for
one.
him. Yeah, that'd be a
Yeah.
good one for him.
There's an episode later this season that I thought, would be up his alley. So yeah, we got all that coming up. Anyway, so that's a wrap on the battle. We check out the Orville podcast. It isn't. I like it. Heather doesn't like it, and Davin doesn't like it. And I don't know. Murphy kind of.
Does Davin like anything except Deep Space Nine? Like, really?
All right, so here's the quick primer on what he likes. Okay, does it have Worf? If so, it's a 10. Does it have Ferengi? If so, it's at least an 8.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is it a DS9 episode? Then it's at least an 8.
Okay,
that's pretty much it for him.
He has his things he really likes, and he has his things he really hates.
That's
so
true.
like.
Anything don't we all though?
He's a very distinct man. He knows what he likes and he sticks to it.
Yeah, he doesn't like anything with the Mirror Universe. He doesn't like anything.
Yeah, he doesn't like Mirror Universe.
The Mirror Universe
like
is so fun.
He doesn't like anything that fetishizes villainry. He doesn't like anything that kind of implies like anything that's sadistic.
I think somebody just hurt him when he was little.
Maybe, I don't know. And so, but yeah, he doesn't like Seth MacFarlane, so he doesn't like.
Oh, he hates Seth MacFarlane.
Same.
All right. So, so anyway, but if you do want to check out our reviews of that show, check that out Mondays. This Thursday we'll be continuing our reviews of Star Trek Prodigy. We'll be talking about episodes 11 through 15 of season 2, and we'll be talking about all that then. Murphy will. If he can stay awake, we'll be there.
Well, he is the world thought maker.
He is.
And look out for Trivial Debates coming up later this month. We're doing a Star Trek themed Trivial Debates, and I will be hosting. And is Heather on that one? Is that what you said, Murphy? Or
sorry, what?
I think it's Ashley.
Who's competing again on the Trivial Debates?
So Trivial Debates for the Star Trek episode at the end of the month is going to be Ashley Millard, our very own. Also Trek Trav from TikTok and Australia's Trek scene. He's an influencer in that part of the world. And then also from the Great Britain part of the world, we're going to have Trek Culture's Sean Ferrick join us, which is pretty awesome.
Well, fun. This should be a good one.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
You know what, Heather? If we're not on it, it doesn't get good reviews.
That's how it goes sometimes.
I'm gonna get Heather Narduzzi on some Trivial Debate soon.
Trivial Debate.
I will be there if you want me there.
Look out for all of our podcasts and the United Federation of Podcasts as well. Like hold up, and we'll play all the little clips here at the end.
They're fine, but they're not as good because I'm not on them.
Yeah. Well,
and Heather's not on.
Anyway, with that note, I'll say good night for everybody. Thank you to Heather, Jody, Murphy, and everyone in the comments. And we'll see you next time for what are we doing? Hide and Q. And we'll leave you with this quote.
The Picard maneuver. What is the defense against that data? There is no defense, sir. Then devise one. Fast.
Yes, there is.
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Eamon on Track. Watch us duke it out on Trivial Debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mater Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.